Today I'll be talking about the ditch lights I went on with my 2019 Crosstrek. They are Baja Design S1s. They're the wide cornering lens. What's cool about these is actually you could swap out these lenses, different color, different style. Still uses the same LED. Yeah, they're at 2 inches by 2 inches. I thought they felt good. A lot of the 3-inch ones that people use, I just felt like were too big for this. They are bright and they're a good product. I was going to go with the KC highlights, or actually no, the flexes, my bad. The little ones that are very similar, but I thought this one I liked a little bit better. So I'll show you a little bit how it's all done up here. I'm using the ADF ditch light mounts. It's held up by the 2 bolts. You just take off the 2 factory hood bolts. They are a little bit hard to start because they are painted over down here, and you just put you could adjust it. That's another nice thing about these versus the LP Adventures. I don't think there's anything else really wrong with the LP Adventures. It's just I went with these because this company's based out of the States. Shipping was quicker versus LP, which is based out of Canada. Either direction you go, I think it's going to be a very similar product. I opted for the powder coated option, but they ended up coming out pretty nice. As far as the wiring goes, each light has a short, probably 8 to 10 inch wire with a connector at the end like this, and then there's a wiring harness that runs from one light to the other, and then to the switch. Basically what I did was there's actually, as you can see, holes in the hood here, so I ran it through that hole just with some fishing wire, pulled it through. I think it works out pretty good. Zip tied it up a little bit. If you've seen some of my other videos, over here in this panel I have an auxiliary fuse box right here that I'm using for my hello horn. I'm using for these lights, and then any other future lights down the road I'm using it for. I will be adding a compressor near the hitch pretty soon, but that's to come. So it's 2 little clips. You remove that, and then you can see right over there auxiliary fuse panel. I actually have it, like I've mentioned in my other video, instead of using an inline fuse running the power over here, I am using these little breakers. This way, if you ever go over the 30 amps, instead of blowing a fuse and needing to replace it, you just reset this guy. It's pretty easy. And then as far as the wiring going to the inside, I am using a this is from SMK Fabrications. It's the for the top switch. He also makes them for the bottom, and he also makes them for there. It's like a nice 3D printed design. Some people have actually wrapped it. I thought the 3D printing didn't show too much, so it was pretty good. I went with the white option. I might go with the red in the future because I noticed at night all these light up red. I didn't think of it then, but basically the ring is off when the lights are off. When you turn the lights on, it is a little bright at night, the white, but I guess it's better to know that it's on, because the way I have it run is my auxiliary fuse box is it's always hot. I know some people use like a source of ignition, this way they don't run the chance, but I do use these lights sometimes when the car's off, we're out in the woods somewhere, and so that's that. But as far as that goes, if you pull this side panel off here, and then there's a couple clips, this whole panel comes out, you were able to access that pretty nice. The only thing is, I don't know if you'll be able to see it right now, but way up there's like a probably 2-inch thick wire harness, and that's the main wire harness, and I believe it comes to the firewall right about somewhere over there. A lot of people go that route. I wasn't super comfortable with it. It was a bit tighter, and that seemed to be the only option. On my previous Volkswagens, there were plenty of firewall access ports with grommets, and that worked. But what I ended up finding underneath here is when I pulled all the foam and carpet back, up in this corner over here, there's actually two pretty accessible grommets. One is for the hood latch, and one seems like it is for, if you file this hose right here, I believe it's the source for the rear wiper fluid. And basically what happens is this and the hood latch, which comes from over here, drops into the fender right about here, and it runs through those two grommets. So what I did was I took this wheel off over here, and I had to take my rock box off, and then, you know, popped a couple clips, and I pulled this out. I think there was a clip right under here too on the bottom, but I pulled that all out and, you know, kind of folded this, held it up by like the strut, and I had access. So I pulled out the grommet for the hood release because that one seemed like it had more room, and I ended up being able to feed the wiring harness, which is like a perfect harness. It did come with a switch, the Baja Designs, but since I'm running this switch, I ended up wiring it. SMK gives you pretty good wiring harness instructions to be able to, like, if you want the light always on, if you want the light, you know, how I have it, or vice versa, you could have the light on when the lights are off, and when you push it in, the LED ring goes off. So there's plenty of options. It's essentially like a relay on the switch. You got the normally open, normally closed types of ports. So I wired that all up, and it hit in there pretty nice. For the future, since these lights are only, the switch is rated up to 5 amps, SMK told me. These lights push out like 0.6 of an amp each, so I wasn't too concerned on that. And everything ran over here pretty nice, and that's pretty much it. So I'll try to get a footage of the lights when they're on at night, so you get the output. They're about 2,000 lums each. I'd have to double check that, but I'll try to get that later tonight.